Well, howdy fucking do, everybody. It is I, everyone's favorite jack of all trades with a foul mouth, Commodore Urban, and today we're going to have ourselves another forensic investigation into the Titanic. This time we're going to be investigating a controversial part of the disaster. But before I begin, I just want to say thank you to everyone for watching these videos. I do this shit for you guys. I don't do it for me, because if I did it for myself, I'd just say fuck it. Anyway, the tools I'm going to be using for this investigation will be my 1/350 scale model of the Titanic by Minicraft, Anatomy of the Titanic by Tom McCluskey, and Titanic and Illustrated History by Don Lynch and Ken Marshall. Okay, and what we're going to be investigating is a very, what do you call, something that's been talked about many times, but nobody understands, and that would be the deadly encounter between the Titanic and the motherfucking iceberg. What was the true extent of the damage, and why did this big, massive piece of shit cause so much damage to the most, advanced ship in the world, and cause her to sink? Well, we already know the story. Sunday, April 14th, 1912, 11:40 p.m. Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee were in the crow's nest. They spot the iceberg. They ring 3 warning bells to the bridge. Iceberg dead ahead. Officer Murdoch, here on the bridge, sees the iceberg at the same time, takes evasive action, full astern and hard to starboard. He was trying to make an evasive, action, but what he did was slow the ship down, and of course the ship, hits the fucking iceberg. Now, before we actually go into what the damage really was, there's been illustrations and shit of what they drew at the time, and for years what people believed, that the iceberg caused a 300-foot gash from here to like here that caused the ship to sink. Here's the thing. You know what? I'm going to show you guys. I think I got a book that might explain this better. This book was released before the Titanic wreck was found. You know what? There might be something in it. I don't know. I want to look. Right here. They believed for years a big, massive damage occurred in stores over 300 feet, opened up 6 watertight compartments. They believed this shit happened. Okay, if that actually happened to the ship, she would have not survived. Especially not for 2 hours. Not for fucking 2 hours and 40 minutes. Had that type of damage actually been on the ship, she would have sank like a fucking stone. Nobody would have survived, and we would not know anything what happened. She would just disappear. Like other ships before, just disappear without a trace. Now, let's go ahead and look into what made up the hull of the Titanic in this book. Alright, the plating. The side shell plating, or the outer skin of the vessel, was 1 inch thick, was exceptionally heavy for a vessel of this type. But since speed was not a consideration in Titanic's design, the shell thickness became irrelevant. Okay, 1 inch steel plating, 1 inch thick. She had 1 inch thick steel plating from here to there. Okay, now, there's 2 ways they riveted it. From here to here, they used a big giant, crab claw thing called a pneumatic riveter. And what it would do is take the rivets and it would crush them. Okay, now in the areas of the ship where it became finer, they could not put a pneumatic riveter in these areas. So they used teams of men with wrought iron rivets, and they hand riveted the bow and the stern. Okay, and the rivets they used was a quality of iron that was questionable, but it wasn't horrible, like some people believe. some people say that, oh, the rivets on the Titanic were shit. No, they weren't. They were questionable, but they weren't shit. Now, let's go back to 1912 during the inquiries. Okay? Let's go back to the inquiries of 1912. The British inquiries. Okay? Now, during the British inquiries, if I can find it, I think it's in this book. Let me see. Wilding. I-L-D-I-N. Nope, not here. But I do remember, though, okay, there was an engineer named Edward Wilding. He worked for Harland and Wolff, and he was one of the men responsible for the design of the Titanic. And he actually concluded, with the rate of flooding that the ship was having and the time it took for it to sink, he actually said that the damage was no bigger than 12 square feet, or roughly the size of a table. 12 square feet, guys. Now, people didn't believe him. They laughed at him. But he was a fucking engineer. A fucking engineer, guys. He would understand this shit. And of course, Thomas Andrews probably figured it out pretty quick, too, that, the Titanic was sinking at a slow rate. But anyway, years and years later, well, of course, when the wreck was found, when the wreck eventually was found here, her bow was buried up to the fucking anchors here. So all this shit was below the sediment. They took these acoustic, waves, and they sent waving imaging through the mud to the hull. And they found several small incisions. They found one here, 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 and here. And those little gashes, all together, they added them up, was roughly around 12 square feet, the size of a table. So Edward Wilding was right. It was not this big, massive fucking tear down the side of the ship. It was just little punches and bangs. And what caused the punches and bangs? Well, let's go back to when the ship hit the iceberg. Alright, sorry. Sorry about flopping pages and shit. Sorry about flopping pages, guys. Okay. When the ship hit the iceberg. Okay? Now, right here, far below the bridge, in the heart of the foremost boiler room, leading stoker Frederick Barrett was talking with second engineer Jim Hessick when the warning light and stop indicator came on. Shut all the dampers. Suddenly, a rush of water began pouring in from along the side of the ship, 2 feet above the floor and only a short distance from where the two men stood. Right there. That's right, they were 2 feet above where they stood, 2 feet above the floor plates. Right there. It was a massive torrent of water. Okay? What I think happened was that the iceberg dented along the hull, but it also tore the bottom of the hull some too. Because they said that the ship, as she hit, she vibrated. And it caused this racking motion. Of the plates. See, here's my hand, see? Caused a motion like this, caused the plates to shimmy and heads of rivets pop on and off and stuff and letting water in. I think she rode up on an underwater shelf of the iceberg, rode up on it. And then as she did that, that's the racking motion that everybody felt, that, that rattling. Because if it was just a side swipe, if she just side swiped it, you wouldn't have felt that. There would have been no racking motion. She would have just kind of pushed to the side. But since there was a racking motion, she must have rode up on the iceberg and then come back off. So there was probably damage on the bottom as well. But the damage we know of is right here. And altogether it was 12 square feet. So like I said, no big massive fucking gash, people. It was just, if the iceberg could just make one hole in the side of the ship, it'd be no bigger than, maybe slightly bigger than that door. Maybe slightly smaller, slightly bigger. That's it. But you take that door, the hole that size of that door, and you stretch it in thin little cracks and, dings and dents along 300 feet. You got a lot of area open to water, a lot of area for water to seep into the ship. And of course, as we all know what happened, she went, bloop, 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 to the bottom. So, there you have it, guys. That is my thoughts and my investigation into the collision between the iceberg. If you guys really want to know my thoughts about the whole entire Titanic disaster, it could have been avoided. It really could have been avoided. All this shit could have been avoided. But you have human negligence, human error, and human stupidity. Yep, negligence, error, stupidity. All that rolled up to one caused this ship to sink. Had they been more careful, had they abided by the warnings, had warnings been seen, had they received the warnings to the bridge, the Titanic would have been just fine. But no. Shit happened and the ship sank. So, there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back with you. If you're new to the channel and you like the shit I'm doing, I do all kinds of shit. If you like what I do, hit that fucking subscribe button, hit the notification bell, become part of the commenters crew, never miss a video. So until next time, it's Commander Ribbon, saying smooth seas and clear skies. Happy sailing with you. God bless you. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay awesome, and be yourself. And to all the haters, fuck you. Until next time, so long, everybody.